You've probably been told your whole life that a high IQ is a superpower. But what if it's the exact opposite? What if being brilliant is actually a burden? Let's dive into the surprising reasons why, for some people, genius feels a lot more like a curse than a gift. You know, this isn't some new idea. The poet Thomas Gray wrote this hundreds of years ago, and it just perfectly captures the paradox we're talking about today. The idea that knowing more, seeing more, and understanding more can actually lead to more pain, not less. We are about to break down exactly why a brilliant mind can sometimes feel like a cage. And if this already sounds interesting, or maybe a little too familiar, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button and subscribe to @BrandTechAth right now so you don't miss out. Okay, let's get into the surprising downsides of being exceptionally smart. Okay, so first up, let's look inward. Because often, the single biggest challenge isn't something out in the world. It's the constant, churning, internal monologue of a mind that just will not switch off. It often starts right here, with this internal replay button that's permanently stuck on. You don't just remember a mistake, you relive it. Psychologists have a word for this. It's called rumination. And it's this endless, agonizing loop of replaying a situation, picking apart every single tiny thing that went wrong. And then comes the pressure. When you know you're intelligent, you create these sky-high expectations for yourself, standards that are often completely impossible to meet. And that can lead to this constant, nagging feeling of disappointment in yourself. And this right here, this is the ultimate paradox. The more you learn, the more you see the absolutely infinite ocean of what you don't know. Now, for some, that's humbling. But for a high IQ mind, it can be a source of genuine distress. Now, take a look at how this breaks down. It's all about a difference in scale. A minor, awkward moment that one person forgets in 5 minutes becomes a week-long forensic investigation for another. A simple decision turns into a paralyzing deep dive into 1,000 possibilities, which means a lot of the time, no decision gets made at all. This isn't just thinking it through, it's full-blown analysis paralysis. So all that internal chaos, it naturally leads to our second major challenge, this profound sense of isolation that comes from operating on a completely different wavelength than almost everyone else. A study on gifted young adults actually gave this a name, existential loneliness. Think about it like this. It's not about being physically alone. It's about being in a room full of people who are all listening to pop music, but the only thing you can hear is classical. You're in the same space, but you're having a totally different experience. You just feel fundamentally out of tune. And this quote, it was taken directly from someone in that study, and it's just so simple and heartbreaking. It's the conclusion a really smart person often comes to after years of feeling out of step with everyone around them. They start to think, the problem isn't the world, it's them. And for so many, this is the stark reality. The search for a true peer, someone who gets the subtle jokes, who understands the complex ideas, who wants to talk about the big questions, can feel like you're searching for a unicorn. And it often leads to choosing to be alone, because being with people who don't get you feels even lonelier. And this is why that loneliness is so common. It's the daily friction of just trying to communicate. Imagine you're trying to explain a complex idea that has like a dozen layers to it, but all the other person hears is an overly complicated and condescending lecture. Or you make a quick, witty joke, and you're just met with blank stares. It is absolutely exhausting. And here's the crucial thing to understand. These hurdles often aren't intentional. That compulsive need to correct somebody, it's not about being a know-it-all. It's about a deep, almost physical need for accuracy. Making someone feel inferior is usually just an accidental byproduct of trying to be clear. These aren't character flaws. They're the social side effects of a different way of thinking. So this brings us to what might be the most counterintuitive curse of them all. The idea that having immense potential can actually sabotage your real-world success and stop you from developing skills you desperately need. Just think about this for a second. If everything is easy for you when you're young, you never have to build that perseverance muscle. You never learn how to grind. So the first time you face a truly hard problem, the feeling of struggle is so foreign and uncomfortable that your first instinct is just to quit. You don't lack the intelligence, you lack the experience of pushing through real difficulty. And then there's this. When you're good at a lot of things, picking just one can feel like a huge loss.
Researchers call it multi-potentiality. And trust me, it's not the happy problem of having lots of options. It's the anxiety-inducing reality of standing in front of 1,000 open doors, terrified of choosing the wrong one.
This quote from a study participant just says it all, doesn't it? For someone with multi-potentiality, every single yes feels like 1,000 no's. The weight of all the other lives you could be living can become so heavy that it stops you from fully living the one you're in.
And hey, this isn't just a theory. Researchers have known this for a very long time. Way back in the 1920s, a landmark study by a guy named Louis Terman followed a group of gifted children throughout their entire lives. His biggest finding? A high IQ was no guarantee of an accomplished or happy life. Intellect and achievement are two totally different things.
So after going through all these burdens, where does that leave us? Is having a high IQ just an inescapable curse? Well, not necessarily. But finding happiness requires a whole different kind of intelligence. So let's just quickly recap the 3 core challenges. First, you've got the internal struggle of the overthinking mind. Second, the external struggle of existential loneliness. And third, the paradoxical struggle with the curse of potential, where your greatest gift can actually become your greatest obstacle. The conclusion from the experts is actually pretty clear. Happiness is absolutely possible, but, and this is a really big but, it's not a default setting that just comes with a high IQ. It takes self-awareness, self-compassion, and the wisdom to manage the very mind that causes these problems in the first place. And I guess that's the thought I really want to leave you with. Maybe the ultimate sign of intelligence isn't about having all the answers. Maybe it's about learning how to live peacefully with the questions that don't have easy answers. What do you think? I would genuinely love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments.